ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं सर्वैतं सर्वरूपं हरिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधे कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपसिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदिनतारिणं श्रीचैतन्यैश्वरं गुरवे गुरुचन्द्राय रविकाय तदाय कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनेति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादिष्टारिणे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
Hare Krishna, Mataji, thank you so much for doing the Mangalacharan so sweetly. It was a very nice tune. It's a different tune than what we are used to. So thank you so much. So we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 3, Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is Vidura's talks with Maitreya, and the text for today is text 28. So over to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So the text for today is text 28, Canto 3, Chapter 5. So I will appreciate if one person can chant along as I say the mantra. Swapyam sa gunakalatma
Sopyam sha gunakalatma
Bhagavad Drishti Gocharaha
Bhagavad Drishti Gocharaha
Atmanam Vyakarudatma
Atmanam
Vyakarodatma
Vishwasyasya Sishrikshaya
Vishwasyasya
Shishirkshaya
Vishwasyasya Sishrikshaya
Vishwasyasya
Shirkshaya.
Thank you very much. So word to word translation. Saha Mahatatva
Api
also Amsha
Amsha Purusha plenary expansion
Plenary expansion Guna
Guna,
chiefly the quality of ignorance.
chiefly the quality of ignorance.
Kala,
Kaya,
the duration of time.
the duration of time.
Atma,
Atma,
full consciousness.
full consciousness.
Bhagavat,
Bhagavat,
the personality of Godhead.
the personality of Godhead.
Drishtigocharaha,
Drishtigocharaha,
range of sight.
range of sight.
Atmanam,
Atmanam,
many different forms.
many different forms.
Vyakarut,
Vyakrut,
differentiated.
differentiated.
Atma,
Atma,
reservoir.
reservoir.
Vaishvasya,
Vishvasya,
the would-be entities.
the would-be entities.
Asya,
Asya,
of this.
of this.
Sisrikshaya,
Sisrikshaya,
generates the false ego.
generates the false ego.
Thank you. I read the translation and then someone else can read the purport.
Okay,
Therefore, the Mahat Tattva differentiated itself into many different forms as the reservoir of the would-be entities. The Mahat Tattva is chiefly in the mode of ignorance, and it generates the false ego. It is a plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead, with full consciousness of creative principles and time for fructification. Someone can please read the purport.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Mahatattva is the via medium between pure spirit and material existence. It is the injunction of matter and spirit wherefrom the false ego of the living entity is generated. All living entities are differentiated parts and parcels of the personality of Godhead. Under the pressure of false ego, the conditioned souls, although parts and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, claim to be the enjoyers of material nature. This false ego is the binding force of material existence. The Lord again and again gives a chance to the bewildered, conditioned souls to get free from this false ego, and that is why the material creation takes place at intervals. He gives the conditioned souls all facilities for rectifying the activities of the false ego, but he does not interfere with their small independence as parts and parcels of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, Mataji, you are audible. We can see you and hear you well.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, I would like to offer my humble obeisances unto all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis in today's online Bhagavatam Sangha, and seek for your blessings so that we can discuss something which is of value to our progress in Krishna consciousness, as well as for my own purification. So today, in today's text, we are now in that part of the Bhagavatam, which is very technical, discussing the details of creation. Vidura has been questioning Maitreya Muni about different topics, to explain different topics of the Supreme Lord, beginning with creation. Creation is a very technical aspect in the material world, as well as in the spiritual, sphere, because it's not so easily understood. Everyone wonders, where did human beings come from? Where we come from? Where did the world begin? An average child around the age of 5 or the age of 6, that's when they begin to question, where do babies come from? What happened? Where did I come from? You know, because they see small babies, and so they begin to question. But it's usually an outer question for the want to know of where is our true origin. But because we have been conditioned in the material world, we do not know how to explain this. So therefore it comes in all manners of questions. And of course, in the material world, we will find many answers which are relatively true, but not entirely true, and some which are totally misleading. Therefore, there are so many theories explaining the origin of the material world. That it happens by chance. That's one of them. It came from a Big Bang theory. And then there is the Darwin's evolution and so many others. But the Bhagavatam has all these details. That's why if you want to know knowledge, there are 3 ways of getting knowledge. We have explained, this has been explained in previous classes, that you can go by the empirical way of trying to find things scientifically, you know, that is the ascending way. By your own means, by your own senses, you try to gather knowledge of what we have come. Or you can simply take to Shabda Praman, which is the knowledge that has been revealed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and has already been there. But this is not very easy to understand, especially when Maitreya is explaining the Mahat Tattva and differentiating, you know, into 4 ego, and then with the eternal time, Kal as a catalyst, and then the living entities being impregnated, you know. But this is the beginning of creation, because the Bhagavatam explains creation in full, but it has to be explained by a person who has really understood what this really means. Otherwise, it's like studying calculus in class 1 when you don't know what is even multiplication or what is algebra. Therefore, it's like when we have a cake, someone has a birthday, and we just see a nicely decorated cake, happy birthday, for example, Krishna Das or Radharani Dasi, and we sing Hare Krishna to you, and the cake tastes nice, but where did the cake come from? So the cake in front of us, the happy birthday, sweet, nice cake, nicely decorated in front of us, was baked by someone. It didn't just appear by chance. And so is the material world. So is the structure of the world that we see in front of us. But even before it was baked by someone who went and combined flour and milk and sugar and vanilla and so many other ingredients to bake the cake, someone else got the wheat from the farm and crushed the wheat, and it became the wheat flour. And even before, the one who plucked the wheat from the garden, someone planted the wheat seeds, and the wheat seeds came from somewhere also. So this cake, we can see the progression of this cake. Now, of course, we are going backwards. So similarly, in these verses, Maitreya Muni is trying to explain to Vidura the cause or the source or the manifestation of the material world in different phases. And now we are at the very basic phase of where the material world is being manifested from the Mahat Tattva. The Mahat Tattva is a conglomeration, or we would say it's like when you mix different things together. And Prabhupada here is giving different explanations or different definitions of what the Mahatattva is. So he's saying it is a plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead with full consciousness of creative principles and time for fructification. Just like in a grain of wheat, there's a potentiality of a chapati, a paratha, and a potentiality of a cake, even a cake. So in the similar way, this is the most basic form, even before we can come to atoms such as air, earth, fire, the five main elements that make up the material world. So even before that, that is what Maitreya Muni is trying to explain. But since it's so complex, and not understanding this does not have a big impact in our lives, but it's good to know what's our idea of creation. Because many times when we are preaching, we are asked, so the Christian believe that the world was created in 7 days, and so do the Muslims, and so do the scientists. They believe in many other theories. What do the Hare Krishnas believe? And then we are at, I'm not so sure where Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. We are parts and parcels of Krishna. Yeah, so that's why it's good to know. Then we can convince them because we have full knowledge. This is what is called to have absolute knowledge. And the Bhagavatam is said it is the answer to all questions. To all these people who are claiming the world came by chance, the world came by this theory, the material world has manifested from this and from that, the Bhagavatam gives not only the source, but it explains the stages in which the material world was manifested. And today we are still in the state of where the Mahatattva is differentiating itself into different forms. And we can see here that it has all the modes of material nature, both the modes of guna, and the gunas of tamoguna, that is ignorance, and then we have sattva guna, goodness, and rajoguna, passion. So it's mainly in the mode of ignorance. And why? Because it is sitting idle. It's not manifested itself. Therefore, it's termed to be mainly, chiefly, in the mode of goodness, in the mode of ignorance. And from ignorance, then it generates into false ego. That is where we are at today, with Maitreya explaining to Vidura Muni. And then expounding on this false ego now, Prabhupada is saying in the purport that this false ego is a binding force of material existence. We know we have a gross body made of the 5 material elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, intelligence. Of course, with the intelligence, that's the subtle body. And we have the subtle body that cannot be seen, the mind, intelligence, and the false ego. And the higher you go, beginning from the gross bodies, the stronger it gets. Like our senses, which are made up of the 5 elements, are dominated by the activities of the mind. And the mind is controlled by the intelligence. But even more stronger than the intelligence is the false ego. And that's why Prabhupada is saying here, this false ego is a binding force of material existence. The Lord again and again, He gives a chance to the bewildered conditioned souls to get free from this false ego And that is why the material creation takes place at intervals. So material false ego is manifested. And when it is manifested at different, it's a very strong, because what does false ego mean? It means that the living entities who have been impregnated into the Mahatattva, even at that point where they have not gained bodies and they are not activities, it's a very strong, it's a very strong, what do I say? It's a very strong ingredient, because you need to cheat yourself that I am such a Purusha, I am such a controller. Otherwise, you cannot be in the material world. If you cheat yourself, you are not a controller, then you are a devotee. And devotees are not in this material world. They are here in this material world, they are not of the material world. They are here to help others who are binded by this false ego and cheating themselves to be controllers. That, therefore, false ego is a necessary ingredient in the creation of the material world. And why is it necessary? Because we wanted it. And Prabhupada says that we have minute independence, that the Supreme Lord, he gives conditioned souls all facilities to rectify the activities of the false ego. But he does not interfere with their small independence as parts and parcels of the Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme controller. He can decide, I want all of you to come back to Godhead. And he just has to say it, or he just has to move his finger. But he will not do that, because he wants us to love him naturally. You know, it should come naturally. Love should come naturally. Love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, it gives us many and many chances in this material world until we come to that realization that we are not really controllers. There's a supreme being among us. I can't control, I may be the controller in the house. I may be the one directing my husband or directing my wife. Without me, no one can eat in this house. I decide the menu. If I don't cook, they will all die. I'm giving small examples on how we think ourselves to be controllers. Without me giving this class on Monday, all of you cannot show up. You'll have someone else. Small things. This is called Purusha Bhav. Cheating ourselves that we are in the mood of Purusha. But then when the Supreme Lord allows us to go through this. Because if it does not allow it, then we will not love him naturally. This is how compassionate is. You know, it's an example is given, just like a mother. The child she's making chapatis, and her young daughter also wants to make chapatis. But she'll get burnt. She can't make real chapatis. She wants to cook for the whole family, but she does not have the capability. So what she does, she gets her a fake rolling pin, plastic, gets her some fake flour, fake round thing for rolling the chapati, sets her own kitchen for her. Lets her cheat herself that she's making chapatis for the family. But is she really making chapatis? And when she'll be doing it, she'll be very happy and cheating herself that this is okay. But as she grows up, she knows that this is not the real chapatis that I'm making, and wants to learn from the mother. And with time, she'll make real chapatis. So this is our situation. We want to be controllers because of false ego, which is binding us. We want to be controllers. Therefore, the Supreme Lord, sets this material world for us. Okay, you want to fly, be a bird. You want to control, become Brahma, control the entire universe. You want to be the best meteorologist, okay, become Indra, control the rain and the winds and everything. Or even become smaller controllers, not only in the heavenly planets, in the earthly planets, or even in the hellish planets. All these material worlds, those who are here, it's because they have this controlling nature, but they are cheating themselves. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, Prakriti Kriyamana Nigunai Karmani Sarvasha Ahankara Vimudatma Kartaham Itimanyate. That the living entities who have been who have been influenced by the three modes of material nature, which make up this Mahatattva, which is the basic principle of the existence of the material world. They are illusioned to think that themselves they are controllers, while the three modes of material nature are controlling everything. So we are not the doers, but we think we are doing. We think we are controlling. And the Lord gives us the facility and He gives us the independence until we realize that what we are doing is cheating ourselves, and we realize He's a supreme controller. And therefore, when at that point, what happens? It said when the student is ready, the spiritual master appears. Then those who are not conditioned by material nature, or those who have taken up the process of Krishna consciousness, are sent to us to guide us to practice on how to gain back our real identity, our real ego, and live around this false ego. Because ego exists, because ego is individuality. Every living entity is an individual, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead respects the individuality and enjoys the individuality of each and every one of His parts and parcels. We may all be His parts and parcels, but we play different roles. Here in the material world, as well as in the spiritual world, when we go back home, back to Godhead, after getting rid of our false ego and after realizing our true identity, then we will have different roles and different transcendental identities. While here in the material world, being bound by the three modes of material nature and our false ego, we are linking ourselves to be in material designations as a doctor, as a tourist, many manifestations, many designations that we are Purushas. We are controllers in our own small ways, as students, as teachers, as Kenyans, Tanzanians, Americans. But our real identity is that we are spirit souls, eternal servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we will have different services, transcendental services in the material world. And by practice of Krishna consciousness, we are practicing what we will do there under the guidance of those who have given up their false ego and are here for the purpose of guiding us into those activities. Therefore, this is what the false ego is about. And that's why Prabhupada is saying it is a binding force of material existence. And until your false ego is gone, you will remain in this material world. You're not going anywhere. You cannot go back home, back to Godhead, until your false ego is gone. That's how strong, because it is a binding force. We said it's the ingredient that causes us to believe that this material world is real and that I am the controller here in whatever sphere of life I am controlling. I am the master there. and I'm rolling it over. And how is it that until the false ego is gone, I will not go out of this material world? Said when one dies and is cremated, that's why the Vedic culture of cremating the body of a deceased person is the best way to get rid of the material body. When the deceased person is cremated, then because the gross body is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether, and intelligence, air and ether, forget the intelligence, that's subtle. Then the water goes back to water, it evaporates and joins with the water in the atmosphere. The earth, that remains as ash. Fire joins in the fire in the material atmosphere. Air joins with the air. So everything goes back into its place. So what happens to mind, intelligence, and false ego? These, they go along with the soul. They carry the soul to the next body. Because it said at the end of your body, at the end of your life, what you remember at the end of life, that's what you become. So this subtle body, it carries you to your next body. And then you die again, and again it happens. But by chanting Hare Krishna, by performing devotional service, what happens? We purify our mind, we purify our intelligence, and we are getting rid of the false ego and getting our real ego, our real identity properly, understanding that properly. This is what happens when we practice Krishna consciousness. But for one who does not practice Krishna consciousness, then his mind, intelligence, and false ego, they remain carrying him in this material world until when they are purified. And the mind can be purified by many other processes. The mind can be purified by Dhyana Yoga, by Ashtanga Yoga. Even the intelligence, it can get purified by these lower forms of yoga. But only Bhakti Yoga can purify the false ego. Only devotional service to Krishna consciousness can purify false ego. And therefore, we should practice Krishna consciousness since we have come to Krishna consciousness, so that we can purify our mind, our intelligence, and more so purify our false ego, which cannot be purified by any other means. And therefore, all the other processes of transcendence, they'll keep you here in this material world. They cannot take you outside the process of samsara, of birth, death, old age, and disease. Only Krishna consciousness can do that. Therefore, we are very lucky. We have come across Krishna consciousness. We have come somehow across Prabhupada books and his devotees. And we should, in a great mood of gratitude, we should beg their mercy that we can practice with sincerity and take up to the process in full, and advancing, we can get rid of our false ego after purifying our senses, our minds, and our intelligence, and get our real identity and get out of this material world. And I'll end my short discourse there. For welcome of questions, comments, corrections, criticisms, the floor is yours. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening.
Thank you very much, Mataji. I know this was a short purport and it mainly focused on the false ego. But would it be possible for you to just revise with us from the beginning till we get to false ego, since we have time? Because this is very technical and it would benefit especially me. I'm sure the other devotees have understood it, but it will benefit me if we just went from the beginning till now. So
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Mataji. Actually, this section is supposed to be studied, not just read. This is a section that is supposed to be studied, making tables, and you're a teacher yourself. Yeah. If you want to understand this section, you have to study. Therefore, we go back to text 23. 23, yes. Because in 22, that's where Maitreya, I hope you have your Bhagavatams with you. That's where Maitreya is telling Vidura that he will describe the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then from there, he begins explaining about the manifestation of the material world. Yeah, 23. Bhagavane ka esadam agra atmanam vibhu. Yes. Okay. The personality of Godhead, the master of all living entities. He existed prior to the creation, as one without a second. It is by his will only that creation is made possible again and again. Everything merges in him. The Supreme Self is symptomized by different names. So in this text, we know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, is the creator of everything, and he existed before creation. Sometimes it's acted, if God is a creator, who created God? He has no creator. He's the beginning of everyone. He has no beginning. He has no end. So the explanation of how the material world, how the creation happened, actually begins from 24. That the cosmic manifestation.
Sorry,
Yes.
Mataji, just one clarification in this text 23. It says everything merges in him. So, but the Jivatmas merges into the Mahavishnu. Yeah, I'm just asking clarification.
Yes.
During
Yes.
annihilation, everything
Yes.
merges into Mahavishnu, and then Mahavishnu is a plenary expansion of the Supreme
of Krishna.
Lord.
Yeah.
So therefore,
Yeah. So
everything
from
merges
him,
into him.
yes, yes. From him, the Mahavishnu comes, Karnadaksha Vishnu, and then from him, the cosmic manifestations begins, and in him everything merges. But he is an expansion of Krishna.
Yes. Okay, let's continue. Yes. Text 24.
Yes, text 24. The cosmic manifestation, that's the second line in the translation, was not present at that time when the Supreme Lord was existing, before it appeared, and thus he felt imperfect without his plenary and separated parts and parcels. Therefore, the material energy, it was dormant, whereas the internal potency was manifested. We know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has three energies: the internal energy, the external energy, and the marginal energy. The external energy is a material world, and that is what is being said, that it was dormant. It was not active. The internal potency, which is the spiritual world, was already manifest. And the living entities are also not, they are there, but they are not manifest. Okay? The marginal energy are the living entities, you, me, and all the living entities in the world, the chicken, the cows, the insects, everything. Then 25. The Lord is the seer, and the external energy, which is seen, works as both the cause and effect in the cosmic manifestation. Yes. Thank you, Priya Govinda Prabhu, for that text. Yeah, the Lord is the seer, and the external energy, which is seen, works as both the cause and effect in the cosmic manifestation. So the Supreme Lord is the cause of the cosmic manifestation, or in simpler terms, the material world, and the external energy is the effect. You know, here is some chemical reaction taking place. And this external energy is known as Maya or illusion. And through her energy agency only is the entire material manifestation made possible. So the external energy of Krishna, illusion, is the agency by which the material world becomes manifest, by which we can see it, whereby the planet comes into form, the living entities come into form, and everything in it. We can see the mountains, the rivers, the oceans, everything that is material. That was it. That is what is meant by material manifestation. So initially it's there, but it's not manifested. Just like sometimes people say that nowadays there's this manifestation culture among popular among the youths, you know, that someone was saying me, if I want a car, I manifest it. And I'm like, how do you do that? She was like, I just think about it and then I forget about it, and with time it will come. So the car is there, but it's not manifested. So in the same way, this is how the material manifestation occurs. So initially it's there, but it's not manifested in full form. Okay, now 26. We are coming closer to where we are. In 26, the living being, the supreme living being, that is Shri Krishna, in his feature as the transcendental Purusha incarnation. Now, who is this Purusha incarnation? Mahavishnu, or Karnadaksha Vishnu, also known as Karnarnavasha Vishnu, because he lies in the Karna ocean. The ocean, the casual ocean, it's not ocean of water, it's an ocean of course, casual ocean. So he impregnates the material, the living entities, he impregnates the material modes of nature. The living being or Mahavishnu, who is the Lord's plenary expansion, impregnates the material nature of three modes, and thus the influence of eternal time, the living entities appear. So now we are beginning to see some form. From 25, we are beginning to see the progression now. If you are writing, we saw there's the external energy and the Supreme Lord. And through the external energy, then the material manifestation will be made possible. The external energy is illusion. And now in 26, we are seeing that the Supreme Lord as Mahavishnu, he impregnates, and in the purport, if you read the purport, Prabhupada says, how does he do this? He does this with his vision, by looking at the material nature with three modes, at looking at that dormant and manifested material nature. He impregnates the three modes of material nature, and by the influence of time. Time is another, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Karos me, time I am. So time here is used like a catalyst. This is more like a chemistry class. There was cause and there was effect, whereby the cause was the Supreme Lord, and the effect was the material manifestation. And now, I don't know if I'm being understood. I hope I wish I had a board and pen. I'm more of a board and chalk teacher. And now we are seeing the Supreme Lord impregnating into the dormant material manifestation. He puts in three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And using time as a catalyst, living entities enter there. They are not created. They are in him. That's why it's being said impregnated, because they are in his body. They are his parts and parcels. They are not being created. And all this process is called creation. And then text 27. In text 27, thereafter, influenced by the interactions of eternal time, the supreme sum total of matter, called the Mahat Tattva, became manifested. And in this Mahat Tattva, the unalloyed goodness, the Supreme Lord, sowed the seeds of universal manifestation out of his own body. So here, from our equation now of where the Supreme Lord as Mahavishnu has impregnated the three modes of material nature using time as a catalyst and puts the living entity, comes a manifestation called the Mahat Tattva. So in this Mahat Tattva is a mixture of matter with the three modes of material nature, with living entities, and with time. Understood?
Yes,
And
yes,
then, yes, and then in today's text 28, now we are looking at this mass, at this supreme mass that has been created, which has three modes of material nature, and it has living entities, and it has time, called the Mahat Tattva. So Prabhupada says that this Mahat Tattva, it differentiates into self, into many different forms as the reservoir of would-be entities. And now he begins explaining the differentiation in the second sentence. And he says that it is chiefly in the mode of ignorance. The mode of ignorance is dominant. Number one, it's how it's just a matter, so it's not active, so it's in the mode of ignorance. And number two, most of the living entities, even when we see in this material world, are in the mode of ignorance. Those who are in the mode of goodness are rare. Those in the mode of passion are a bit on average in number, but many are in the mode of goodness. I'm in the mode of ignorance. So these are ways in which the Mahat Tattva is chiefly into the mode of ignorance. And then it generates the false ego. False ego is coming from the mode of ignorance, generates the false ego, which tricks the living entities, well, of course, when they become more differentiated into proper forms. We will see as we go on that they are controllers in the material world. And that is necessary. Because unless they believe that they are controllers and that the material world is a good place, then they'll not want to be here. You know? And Prabhupada is saying that this Mahat Tattva is also a plenary expansion of the Supreme Lord with full consciousness of creative principle and time for fructification. Why? Because it has come from the body of the Supreme Lord. That's where we are at in today's class. I don't know if I have summed it correctly or if I have made it more complicated. But as you go on, it will become a bit more complicated also, or a bit more easier. Because now we will see the Mahat Tattva differentiating itself and becoming more distinct. Like we explained, from the grain of wheat, it becomes wheat flour, it becomes wheat, a wheat plant, then wheat flour, and then from there it differentiates into chapati and paratha and cake. So in a similar way, the creation is being shown how it's manifesting. Okay? Is that understood, Mataji?
Yeah. Yes, Mataji. And we open it up to questions, but there was a comment by Priya Govind Prabhu. Priya Govind Prabhu says Purusha Avtara of Krishna are Mahavishnu. So Mahavishnu is the Karunadakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Shirodakshaya Vishnu, and all the living entities, I guess.
Yes.
In
Thank you so
Mahavishnu,
much. Sorry to cut you off, Mataji. So, as we said, creation happens in different stages. So, at this stage, Maitreya Muni is explaining creation at the stage of Karnadakshayi Vishnu or Mahavishnu. And as the Mahatattva becomes more differentiated, we will see creation at the stage of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu all the way to Shirodakshayi Vishnu. But at this interval, Karnadakshayi Vishnu is creating.
Mataji, I had a question.
Please go
Uh,
ahead.
Yeah, that there are two types of dissolution. One is at the end of day of Brahma, and another is at the end of the life of Brahma. So I think at the end of life of Brahma, all the living entities go back into the body of Mahavishnu. They are dormant there, and they again, with his next breath, they come back when the next Brahma is born. But what happens at the end of the which is the partial dissolution, which is at the end of Brahma, not at the end of life of Brahma, only at the end of day of Brahma. What kind of dissolution is that? I just forgot.
At the end of day of Brahma, then they go back into, not into Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, into Karnadakshayi Vishnu.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
So that is at the end of life of Brahma. I think Karnadaksha Vishnu
Yes,
is
yes, yes. That's at the end of life of Brahma. Not
okay.
at the end of day of Brahma, they all go back into Garbhodakshayi Vishnu.
Okay,
That
okay.
is partial dissolution. Dissolution also takes part in phases, at intervals. In the same way as creation, we are discussing creation in intervals. Dissolution will also be discussed in intervals.
Okay.
Thank you,
Mataji.
Prabhu.
just to clarify, at the end of the day of Brahma, all that is partial annihilation, everybody goes back into Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And then when there is full annihilation, then they go back into Karunadakshaya Vishnu.
Yes, understood. Perfectly understood.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this is very technical, and I think we will request all the presenters, at least for the next 2 weeks, to keep on repeating. So when they repeat, it will sit in us very nicely. So thank you, Mataji, for starting this revision along with the text that you did. We can open up to any questions or comments if there are. Are there any questions or comments from the group?
Again, Mataji, when there is partial dissolution, which is at the end of day of Brahma, the inhabitants of the higher lokas, of higher heavenly planets, like Tapaloka, Maharloka, and Satyaloka, they are not dissolved, no? I mean,
No, no.
what
They are
happens?
not dissolved. Yes?
So what happens to them?
They stay on until there is full dissolution.
Okay.
Yeah, they stay around, they stay alive all the life of Brahma, even when the day of Brahma finishes.
Okay,
They
okay.
stay around with Brahma.
Yeah. They go to their higher planets, right? No?
Yes, yes,
Because the heat is
yes,
intolerable, so they ascend to higher
yes.
planets. Yeah.
Yes, that will be explained as Maitreya Muni is explaining in the coming chapters. I think it will be around chapter 8 or chapter 6. I'm not so sure. That will be explained by Maitreya Muni.
Tapaloka,
Yes.
Maharloka, and Satyaloka, only three planets are not dissolved at
Yes,
the end of the day of Brahma. They are
yes,
dissolved at the end of life of Brahma, right? Thank you.
yes, yes,
But
yes.
all the
Thank you,
Patal
Prabhu.
Loka and all the other lokas are dissolved.
Yes, all of them are dissolved.
Yeah, there are two type of things. There is water also, and there is heat also. both become intolerable.
Yes.
So from Janaloka and Mahaloka, they go to Satyaloka.
Mhm. Yeah. Prabhu, you have a very good understanding of this. Yes, your understanding is right. This will be explained in the chapters to come.
Yeah,
So if you
coincidentally,
want to understand, yes.
coincidentally, I happened to read recently all these things. Not I didn't know about.
Mm. And thank you. Thank you for sharing.
And then there is a question in the chat by Priya Govind. What is the nature of the seeds mentioned in this verse? Are these seeds to be understood as the individual souls, the jivas, or they represent something more, such as karmic impressions, potentialities, or subtle bodies? How does this imaginary how does this imagery help us to understand the soul's entry into the material existence?
Mm.
The first question is, are these seeds the soul, or are these karmic impressions, potentialities, or subtle bodies?
No, these seeds that are being mentioned here are the living entities, the individual souls. Yeah, because we are discussing about creation and how the living entities and the material world manifested. So the seeds that are discussed here are the seeds of the individual souls. Of course, with each individual souls comes the karmic impressions, and the potentialities, of course, with the karmic impressions, the potentialities of their bodies to come and their subtle bodies. So, but the seeds described here in whole are the individual soul, who have in them the seeds of all these karmic reactions. So how this helps us to understand the soul's entry into material existence? It should help us to understand that the soul is existing in the material world, thinking itself to be an enjoyer or to be separate. That's how. Like here we have been told the force ego is a binding force that is keeping it here. So this imagery helps us understand that until all this karma is gone of the living entity by which they act, and then from their activities, they have reactions, and because of these reactions, based on the dream modes of material nature, they keep in the material world, then they forget their real identity. So this is the entry into the material world, not knowing our real identity, having the false ego. And when this is rectified, which can only be rectified, as I said, by the process of devotional service, no other method of transcendence, be it Ashtanga yoga or Dhyan yoga or Karma yoga, no other yoga other than Bhakti yoga, which is devotional service to the Supreme Lord, beginning with the chanting of the Mahamantra, will get rid of the false ego. Then you will exit the material world. And then you will be situated in not the false ego, but into the real ego, which is your real identity. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, one more thing I thought, Mataji, regarding this question, that when there is dissolution and all the souls go into the body of Mahavishnu, so at the time they are not purified souls. We still have our karma with us. So what happens is that,
Yes.
no, what happens is that the matter is dissolved and all the souls go inside his body. And when they come back, how is it? They remember everything, that all the karma and subtle body. It is due to the Paramatma. The Paramatma reminds us all the desire.
Yes, they may not remember, but the reactions will still be carried out because the
Right.
material nature has been given that function.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
few can remember the actions of their previous lives. but
Yes.
the reactions will still be there.
Yes, because we are in dormant stage, and all the souls, the spirits part, I think they goes in the body of Mahavishnu, and the matter is dissolved into Mahatattva, and the subtle bodies are again matter. So how this thing comes, the subtle body comes to, back to the soul, it is because of, I think, Paramatma. Paramatma gives that memory.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. The Paramatma comes, and with him, but this is not the function of the Paramatma. Remember, the material body is given, the material nature is given, Prakriti. Prakriti has that function of carrying out the reactions of the living entity. So whether the soul remembers or not, the reactions will be there. And until he is fully purified, then when he goes back home, back to Godhead, he'll keep coming back with his subtle body, full of
yeah.
these karmic propensities.
Thank you, Mataji. That is complete understanding. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, if there are no more questions or comments, we will still be revising this. But Priya Govind Prabhu, you have switched on your mic. Are there any questions or comments or clarifications, or do you want to give us some more clarifications, please, Prabhu? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, and everyone. Wow, such an elaborate class. And I think as she has told us, as we proceed, we are going to get more clarity. So I think for me, I have understood everything, and I don't need to add anything more. Otherwise, I'll be diluting the nectar. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for joining in and helping us understand this. Okay, if there are no more questions or comments, can I request Eastern Prabhu, are you able to end the session for today?
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Grace Rasa Mataji, for the Nectarian class. It was so practical and it was well understood. Thank you also for revising with us the previous shlokas. We understood now how everything went, and it was so nice. With that, I will request each and every one of us to unmute and chant one round of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and the glorification of Her Grace Rasa Mataji for the wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
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 Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vancha Namo Namaha.
Srila Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
Santara Srimad Bhagavatam ki,
Jai.
Her Grace Rasa Mataji ki,
Jai.
all glory to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
ISKCON Adored Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Jai. Thank you very much, Mataji, for today's session.